Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really didn't film a proper intro for this video. I just went outside and started taking a crack at things, but earlier this morning we did a compression test on the Aztek. If you have not been following the last few vlogs, we have an intermittent misfire on cylinder number 3 of the Aztek, and it's something that has been getting progressively worse over the last couple of months. And we started off by checking the spark plug, which was brand new, and I replaced it anyway. I guess it had some minor fouling on it, but really didn't look all that bad. But I did replace it with another spark plug like it. Then that didn't fix it, so we did the wire, spark plug wire. We did that. The spark plug wires replaced with AC Delco wires. Did all of them. Didn't change it. Then we did the coil test. All of the coils are good. We took the one for cylinder 3, switched it to another cylinder, and the misfire did not carry. So it stayed on number 3, and that led me to believe that maybe we had a fuel injector. So in the last vlog about this topic, we pulled the fuel injectors. We swapped the number 3 cylinder with a known good fuel injector, and I put a fuel injector from another, it was from a Grand Am. I went and pulled a used injector. We put that into the number 6, which is where I pulled the other one from. We completely took the number 3 injector out of the equation just to see what would happen, and nothing changed. So we still have the intermittent miss on 3. So yeah, that was starting to lead me to believe that maybe there is an actual mechanical issue with the Aztek's engine. Now, I did rebuild the engine, at least the top half anyway. We did new head gaskets, new intake gaskets, and just about anything else that I can do. Both heads were replaced when I did this, and obviously, everything was torqued to spec, and that was pretty much what we had going on. So why do we have this intermittent miss? What is going on? So earlier this morning, we ran a compression test. We did a cold compression test and we did a hot compression test. So here is what I filmed earlier this morning, showing you guys what we were doing. When the engine gets to operating temperature is when it'll miss most, and it usually misses at idle. I don't seem to have any miss when the engine is under load or at higher RPM, according to the scan tool that we were using, the Tech 2. It kind of sucks because the cylinder that is missing is number 3, which is in the way back center on this engine. So all the coils and all that stuff have to come back out again, and then we get to play the game of getting the spark plug back out. So we're going to do 2 compression tests. We're going to do a cold compression. This engine has not been started. It's warm, but it sat all night. It sat for like 14-15 hours. So, it's cold. But the heat, from the sun and whatnot, that's not going to, I think, really make a difference. Getting ready to do an oil change here in maybe the next weekend or 2. Which is about due. So yeah, we're going to do a cold compression test to see what our compression readings are while the engine is cold. And then we're going to hook everything back up. We're going to let it run, get to where it's hot, and then I get to stick my hand all back there when it's all toasty and stuff all over again. And then we're going to see what the compression readings are with once it's warmed up, to see if our numbers on that cylinder drastically change. I guess I really don't know how to explain this. I don't really know what it could be. There's a chance maybe it could be a valve issue. For those of you who don't watch this video series often, I did rebuild the top half of this engine. I had to replace both heads, and when I bought the heads, the place where I bought them from said that they were checked. We did take the valves out. We tried to clean them a little bit. We relapped them into the head, You know, made sure everything was sitting right, snug right. So I'm not exactly sure. Rings, piston rings, possibly. This engine is worn, 175,000 miles, and I mean, it don't smoke, so there's no smoke. It just seems to be an issue that's been getting worse as we've been driving this car. After I rebuilt it, this engine seemed perfectly healthy for a while. It ran like a top. So this is just an issue that is, I guess, consistently getting worse. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, we're going to do a cold compression test. I got the book. What we have to do is go in here. We need to go in there and we need to pull the relay. We're going to pull several relays actually. We need to pull the relay for the fuel pump. We need to pull the relay or fuse for the coils, and maybe the injectors also. We just need to make sure that we're not going to be getting any fuel or any spark while we are cranking the engine over. Alright, so according to the manual, which you have to have upside down to comprehend with how the actual fuse box sits, the fuel pump is number 1, which is the little 15 amp fuse right over here next to the battery positive. So I hate fuse pullers. So let's see if we can, I might take this relay out. A little bit of green on there. Not a whole lot, but. Alright, so there's our fuel pump fuse. And then the fuel injectors are number 11. And that's this guy right here. This 15 right here in the middle. See if we can, there we go. Oh, there we go. And as far as the ignition itself, you know, we're going to have to take all those coils and stuff off. So all those wires on that module are going to be unplugged. So I don't think I have to really pull anything specifically for that. I don't think I have to pull anything specifically for that system, because that's going to be unplugged. And we're not gonna have anything hooked up to produce the spark. So yeah, so I think we'll just leave it at the fuel pump and the injectors, and I guess we'll go ahead and just start taking everything apart. Not really going to document all this because you guys have seen me take this stuff off a million times, but before I do anything, just to try to make this a little bit easier, I'm thinking about actually taking these dog bone mounts, taking the bolts out, and maybe trying to rock the engine forward a little bit. I'm actually going to try to rock the car this time, and then once I get the engine tilted far enough up front, then I can quickly set the parking brake, and maybe I can get the engine to stay there. It might make it a little bit easier to get to you know, those spark plugs. It is kind of a pain where they're at, and even with the coils and stuff off, it's still kind of tight back there, so we're going to try that too. I do believe one side of these is a 13 millimeter, and the other side, like the nut part maybe, is a 15, if I'm not mistaken. That might work a little bit better. Yeah, looks like there's a little more room back there now. Are you going to work now? Alright, so we got all of our nonsense removed from the back there. If we're going to do this compression test, I figure we may as well just do the whole engine. Let's get some, you know, numbers. So we got our notebook here, we got our pen. So, like I said, we're gonna do cold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're gonna do hot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll compare the numbers and see how much compression we lose, I guess, throughout the engine once it's warmed up. But obviously 3 is our issue. So we'll get our kit that I borrowed. We just have to remove the spark plugs, which I'm not looking forward to doing. I never do. It's gonna really suck once this engine's hot back there. But when we put them back in to run this engine, we're not gonna tighten the plugs up all the way. We're gonna leave them loose, because if you try to take out a spark plug that's hot and it's not loosened, you're probably going to break it. So that's why we're gonna make sure that when we put them back in this time, we're not gonna really snug them up much. We're just gonna thread them in and then let them work their magic from there. Alright, so all the plugs are out. The back 3 relatively look the same at this point. Even the new one that I just bought, which is here, it's already starting to get that white on it. But they all kind of look similar. And here's the front 3, and again, kind of similar. I'm not 100% sure yet if that's normal looking or not. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna roll with this anyway. So we got the gauge on there. All the plugs are out. We're gonna start with 2 because I just want to make sure I had the right fitting and whatnot. So it threaded in fine. We got the gauge hooked up, and yeah. So basically, we're just going to crank this over a few times. Like I said, like you watched us do, we took the fuses out for the fuel pump and the injector, so nothing should be going into, down into there. We don't have any of our ignition wires connected. These are all of our ignition stuff here. Might need that alternator wire hooked up, and maybe the O2 sensor. Nah, maybe not the O2 sensor, because we're not going to really run it. But we might need the alternator one to be plugged in, so I'm going to plug that one back in somehow. Up here, there we go. Alright, so there's the O2. This one goes to the coil pack. This one goes to the coil pack, and the third one's down there. It's a comm wire, so, and we'll just plug this in just for the heck of it. Try to get it as, good looking as possible, but we shouldn't have anything else running. Everything else on these wires here is all for the coil module, and we don't have that in. So let's go ahead and turn it over and see what happens. We're gonna hold the starter for a few seconds, and we'll go from there. I'll put you guys down here just in case you guys want to watch it. Alright, so that one shot up to about almost 175. I want to say 170-ish, 171. So that's cold compression on cylinder 2. We'll just write 171 down, and we'll go ahead and switch it over to number 4 now, since we're up front here. Alright, so this is going to be number 4.
And number 4 is about the same, so it bumped up to about 173-ish. So we'll go ahead and write down 173. This is all PSI, by the way. I'm sure you guys noticed that. So about 173 on that one. Go ahead and get this off again. Alright, I know you can't see the gauge. It's the way that the thing is sitting, but anyway, it's right here. This is going to be number 6. And this one is reading at about 170, I want to say. So 170, and they're all within close proximity of each other, so I wouldn't think that that is a big deal. It's not like one is at like 171 and the other one's at 160 or something. So they're all within real close proximity. So I would say that they're all, you know, fairly decent. Alright, you're not going to be able to see the gauge on this one because it is facing the back. It might even fall. Try to wedge it there. Alright, here is cylinder number 1. And number 1 is sitting at 175. So we can write down 175 for cylinder number 1. Again, still in pretty close proximity with the other ones. Now we get to do our problem child. Alright, number 3. I'll try and set you guys here, but I have a feeling you guys are gonna fall off. Maybe not. You guys are gonna be able to see it. I'll leave you right there. Okay, number 3. Here's our problem child. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it moved a little bit. 175. Alright, so cold. When the engine is cold, it is matching up with everybody else. Interesting. So 175. We'll go ahead and write that down. Okay, and last but not least on our cold compression test, number 5. You're not going to be able to see the gauge at all, so you guys can just come with me. So here we go, number 5. Tell you what, man, I don't want to jinx it, but that starter has been holding up through a lot of crap since I've had this car. Let's see, we are at about 170. So this one's slightly lower. 170 is what we got with that one. So we'll write down that. So there we go. That's all of our cold compression numbers. Like I said, they are not too far off from each other, so I'm assuming that's not that big of a deal. I could be wrong. I honestly don't know what the numbers should be, but all I know is they should all be within close proximity of each other, and when it's cold, they are. So the highest number, 175, the lowest, 170. It doesn't really seem like that big of a difference. So now I get to put everything back together. We'll let it run, let it get hot. On this hot day already, this is gonna suck. And then we're gonna do everything all over again, only it's gonna be really toasty under here. So let me get to putting everything back together. Start it up, let it run. I'm gonna go in the house and get some water because I'm thirsty. And then once it gets to temperature and it starts missing, we'll come back out here and do this all over again. Alright, so at this point, everything's hooked back up. All the spark plugs are in place. They are not overly tight. I would hand tighten them with the socket until they got about hand snug, and then I backed it off a little turn. So I'm just hoping that they aren't gonna like blow out. I really hope they don't blow out, but that's what I was told to do if I wanted to do the hot compression test. Loosen the spark plugs. So that's what we did. So let's go ahead and start it. I got the fuses back in for the pump and the injectors, and we do have all of our coils and such hooked up. Obviously we need that to run. Fingers crossed that we don't lose any spark plugs. Here we go. Alright, so now we let it run, we let it get hot to operating temperature, and then we do all of that all over again. Alright, so it's only been, you know, maybe 10 minutes or so ish, and without the motor mounts up here connected, you can really see how it's shaking. I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but you can tell it's got, you know, it's missing. So it's just about at temperature already. Like I said, it's hot out here today. And yeah, so a little further, I want it to get to that halfway mark. That is when it gets really bad. We'll let it run there for a while. We're just about where I want to be. I might give it just a few more minutes. I know the thermostat opened and it's probably keeping it there, but on hot days like this, when the car is actually driven, that temperature gauge will get up to the middle mark there. So maybe that's as best as I can get it to do just sitting here at idle. But needless to say, it is missing. So it's doing what it does. So I'm sure I can go ahead and start tearing all this apart, burning the skin off of my limbs. Yeah, you can really see it kind of jumping without it being hooked up to the dog bones. I mean, you can see it when it's hooked up to the dog bones, but I feel like you can really see it tilting back and forth right now when it's not hooked up. Alright guys, so we're back to where we were in the beginning. I only cooked myself a couple times on the hot engine. So right now I got the gauge. Oh, I lost it. It fell. Oh, of course it fell all the way down there. Anyway, the gauge is on number 1. We're going to start in the back first, obviously. We'll see what number 1 is like. And then we will check out number 3. Because number 3 is obviously the one we need. So hopefully that will stay there. Plugs are out. They came out with ease. They were in order. 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. So let's see where we sit now once the engine is warm. And it only took just a couple minutes to unhook all that stuff again, so this temperature is still going to be pretty hot. Yeah, see, it's still rising, so that's close enough. So let's see. So once it's warm, number 1 comes in at 175. Yeah, 175. So no change in number 1. That's cool. Awesome. All right, so let me undo that. Let's finally see what number 3 is gonna say. All right, guys. So here's number 3. Number 3, oh, it fell. Oh, shoot, that's hot. Ow, ow. All right, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. You guys probably seen it. I didn't see it yet. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, okay, there it is. All right. 176? Huh. All right, that fell. I'm gonna do that one again. It's probably gonna fall again, but hold on. Yeah, of course it did. All right. About 176. So the compression on that cylinder went up 1 psi. Alright, we're on number 5 now. It's probably gonna fall, so I'm not even gonna bother taking you guys or showing you guys. It's probably, yeah, so we'll do it right here. So number 5. Oh, it stayed there. All right, number 5. 176. All right, 176 for number 5. And that one went up 6 psi compared to when it was cold. Number 3 went up 1, and number 1 stayed the same so far. So let's go to our front head now. All right, here's cylinder number 2. Number 2 has a lot of compression on it. That's like 184, I'm gonna say. Alright, so cylinder number 2 jumped up to about 184. That is significantly different from the front, or from that back head. And compared to what it is when it's cold, 171 to 184. Let's check out number 4. We're gonna do number 4 now. Number 4 is at about 170, 177, I want to say. We'll say 177 for number 4. And last but not least, we're going to do number 6. Alright, number 6 bumped up to 177, I want to say. So 177. So our cylinders really didn't change all too much, with the exception of number 2. Number 2 had a drastic increase in compression PSI once it was warm, and it is still higher than all the other ones when it's warm. Number 3, I'm really surprised, only changed by 1 PSI. Number 1 stayed the same. Very weird. Number 2 being so different, the firing order of this engine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe going from here to here, if this compression is so high on this cylinder and it goes to here, that's almost 10 psi difference. It's 8 psi difference, but maybe that's what's causing the miss, and all these other ones are relatively the same. So that's really the only thing I can gather as far as looking at these right now. I'll have to consult with maybe the guy who let me borrow the compression tester, or maybe I'll message like my automotive instructor, see what he says about it. I mean, that's really the only thing I can gather, but I would think, you know, well, see, I don't know. I really don't know. So that's, I guess that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for our compression test. There's our numbers, and like I said, I'm just gonna do a little bit more research and maybe see what I can find out as far as if that specific difference there is gonna cause number 3 to have a miss like it does. So,
Alright, so I did a little bit of research into compression readings, and you know, they say, you know, you should have at least have over 100 psi of compression in your engine. The Aztek engine is putting out well over 100, as you can see, and so I'm gonna say, you know, our engine is pretty healthy, surprisingly enough. We do have the one cylinder that is higher than the rest, but we'll get to that here in a second. So I guess from what I was reading, you don't want any of your readings below 10% of what the highest reading of the car is as far as compression. So basically our highest cold readings was 175. If we take our cold reading and we do 175 and we multiply that by 10% or 0.10, you get 17.5. We can round that up to 18 because, you know, just for the sake of, you know, the 0.5. So we'll say 18. Then you take the 175, you subtract the 18, and you get 157. So basically none of our readings should have been below 157, and they weren't. When the engine's still pretty cold, you know, all of our lowest reading is 170. And that's good. So our engine is within spec there when it's cold. Now when it's hot, that was where I was starting to kind of get concerned. Our highest reading was number 2, cylinder number 2, at 184 psi. If we take the 184 and we times that by 0.10, 10%, you get 18.4. Now that's still close to what the other one was when it's cold. The 0.4, I'm not going to round it, so we'll say 18. Then we take 184, we subtract 18 from that, and we get 166. So none of our readings on any of these cylinders while the engine is hot was reading anywhere near 166. Our lowest reading was actually 175. And that's good. So when the engine's hot, all of our compression PSIs are reading within a good range of each other. So the 184 from what I was reading, could be contributing to maybe higher carbon buildup in that cylinder. That I don't know. I honestly don't know. I tried to clean up the heads, obviously, as best as I could. When we rebuilt the engine, I did manage to try to clean the piston tops, and we did also kind of do some little bit of minor cleaning to the cylinder walls also. So I'm not really sure if that is going to really cause an intermittent miss on number 3, being that they are all in spec. If it was maybe way higher than the 184, like maybe 10% over or something, maybe that would be a problem. But my theory at that point is maybe because there is a change in the compression, maybe it does cause like a miss because of the change in the compression, and all the other cylinders are the same. I honestly don't know. I have yet to hear from any of my instructors on what they think of the matter, but that's just the idea that I had. That's the idea that I came up with just looking at these numbers. I didn't put the car back together yet because it was still really hot and I didn't want to tighten anything down while the engine was still hot, so I'm still going to wait a little while before I go back out there and put all the coils and stuff back on. Just from what I'm seeing right now at this time, there really doesn't seem to be enough evidence to prove that there is really anything mechanically wrong with the engine. Now, I could be wrong because I haven't heard back from anybody or whatnot yet, but this is just my thinking. I'm thinking out loud, basically. I'm thinking there really isn't a whole lot there mechanically wrong with this engine. All of our compressions, again, cold and hot, are within spec of each other, so we really shouldn't see a drastic change in how it runs just because of that.
I don't know. The saga continues. But nonetheless, we did a compression test. That's how you do a compression test. Nobody really knew how to do one. And that's really all that I got for today, guys. So if you stuck around this long, thanks. And if you enjoyed it, give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and also check out teespring.com/stores/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and blog merchandise. And that's it. She's just going to be the same for the time being. And it's getting cooler out here, so it's probably going to storm soon. But we're done. That's it. So I will see you guys next time. I want to thank you again for watching. Take care.